welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast, produced in partnership with the A.B. Korkor Foundation for Mental Health. I'm Terry, the creator and co-host of this podcast. I've lived with depression most of my life, and I know how easy it can be to feel all alone in the experience. I'm not alone, and you aren't either.
And I'm Dr. Anita Sands, a licensed clinical psychologist and life coach with a number of my own diagnoses, all of which bring a certain amount of anxiety and depression along with them. There is great power in shared experiences. We share our own as we engage in intimate and candid conversations with our weekly guests, exploring different perspectives on and experiences with depression.
We keep it real because depression is real. We keep it hopeful because there truly is hope, in spite of what depression tells you.
Hi, Terry.
Hello, Anita. So we bet that every person aware of their depression is also aware of their mask. It's that facade, that smile, that coping mechanism we develop when we have to do something in spite of being in depression's grips. It's the phenomenon behind terms like hidden, functional, or smiling depression. And it is one of the first things we rip off when we finally return to a place where we can collapse and acknowledge that whatever we just did took every bit of energy we had. It can seem almost like a strength, or that ubiquitous word, resilience.
But is a mask a helpful thing, a harmful thing, or can it be both enemy and best friend at the same time? It does allow us to go into the world without exposing what we're feeling, without being vulnerable, and without coming across as the dark, gloomy one. But it also means we're hiding our pain from everyone, including people who might empathize with us and who might also experience depression, or who might be able to help us in our darker times. Today's guest, Andrew, knows his mask well. He not only wears it, but he analyzes and writes about it. And that's how we found him in his blog, Rise Above the Ashes, years ago. Andrew wrote the following: "Sometimes I need to go out and talk to give voice to the darkness swirling around me, but I'm too afraid to ask for your time. I feel like it's a burden to you. I feel like I'm a burden to you. So I isolate. I sequester. I make and fake excuses about busyness or tiredness. I fade out. I act. I hide behind a carefully crafted persona. I wear a mask." With more on this common phenomena, here now is Andrew giving his voice to depression.
Andrew was in his early 20s when he first started experiencing symptoms of depression. He wouldn't be formally diagnosed for another 20 years. So for half his life, he just knew something was going on, and that it came and went, whenever it damn well pleased.
I would say 2013, 2014, I started to really struggle with suicidal thoughts. Several weeks at a time, and at least twice a year. And it was kind of getting worse every time. Every bout of depression would be a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, and a little harder to climb out of. Fast forward to the summer of 2015, there was a couple things that kind of snowballed on me. And so I made a decision. I called the local crisis line, told them I needed help, that I wanted counseling. I wanted to get set up with a psychiatrist, soup to nuts, because it became very clear. It was either I make that call or that sooner or later that this illness was going to take my life.
Andrew reached out for and got the help he needed. Now his self-care is multifaceted and includes medications.
I'm on three different pills, and the current dosage level and the combination seems to be working quite well for me. Yeah, it's not ideal. I still definitely have my days, but compared to where I was a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago, it's night and day.
And days beat the hell out of weeks, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I might have moments where those suicidal thoughts come back, but I recognize them for what they are. They don't have that power over me to drag me down and, beat the crap out of me, metaphorically, of course.
They may not drag him down, but make no mistake. When you have a customer-facing job, or a family, or any other number of situations and obligations, it's quite a challenge to carry on as though the conversation or task in front of you is what you're lucky enough to be thinking about.
And there have been, smiling, throwing jokes out, interacting with the customer. In the back of my head, it's just this loop. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die.
And that's where the mask comes in. It doesn't change a single thing that's going on inside, but it transforms the outside.
But yeah, I think it's not so much slapping on a happy face on a good day, because, everyone's got kind of good days and bad days, even within the good stretches. But it's knowing I'm not in a good place, and I still slap on the happy face and try and joke with customers and everything else. Meanwhile, this monotonous of I'm dirt. I'm surprised I haven't been fired yet. Well, if I get fired, I'm just going to die. And, this is just going on in the back of my mind while I'm dealing with customers. That's when it becomes more of a necessity. So it has helped, but I have to remember that, Andrew is still an introvert, and when he's done work, it's okay for him to go home and just crash. It's kind of a balancing act between the two.
In his blog article on this topic, which we will link to, Andrew describes that struggle this way. I wear a mask, not just a mask, not just any mask, the mask, the bane of my existence and my savior, the air in my lungs and the poison in my veins. It saves my life as it drowns my soul.
And yeah, the mask can be both. Because if you relied on the short term, it can save you. It can pull you up. But the danger, you lean on that, you rely on it long term, and that's when it turns on you. It starts to suck you down because you're living this falsehood.
Of course, everyone wears masks to some extent. Fake it till you make it,
Everyone puts up a good front. Mm-hmm. The filters, the staged pictures, the smiling family pictures, or the vacation, right? But everyone thinks that they're the only one who does it as much as they do, and they think everyone else's life is much more, the social media is much closer to reality than theirs. And below that, those of us who struggle with mental illness fight against not wanting to hang out with Eeyore, the mopey depressed that everyone suddenly thinks of when they hear mental illness is depression, the Eeyore. And then on top of that, you've got the fear of what will people think of me? The average everyday Joe, all they know is movies, Netflix, that sort of portrayal of mental illness.
Where you're either violent or a genius.
And probably both. And unstable and unpredictable and volatile. Yeah. So that many levels, it's no wonder that the mask is prevalent.
You said using the mask and hiding behind it also feeds it. It fuels the darkness. It makes it stronger, hungrier, and more unpredictable. So that is fascinating to me. That I've always thought of it as protective. It didn't occur to me that using it empowers it.
It does. When you're young, your bedroom's dark and you hear a scary noise. That noise is frightening because you can't see what's causing it. Well, there's two things you can do then. You can either jump up, turn on the lights, rip open the closet doors and see what's in there. Or you can just throw the blankets over your head, stuff a pillow in each ear, and hope it goes away. By throwing the lights on and opening the closet doors, you can see it for what it is. And it's probably not as big as you think it is. It might be big and scary, yes, but it's not as big as you think it is. I think the biggest reason I've come as far as I have in the last 2 years is because somewhere I got the crazy idea that I'm not gonna fake it. I'm gonna look what I'm struggling with in the eyes as often and as long and as much as possible, because I don't want it to run my life, but I don't want to run from it either.
Mm-hmm. But that's part of the stigma, right? Why should we have to? I mean, we wouldn't be walking around sharing fries and a burger with our friends if we had a really terrific cholesterol problem. We'd have to come out and say, I really can't eat that kind of stuff because I'm on meds and, I could have a stroke or a heart attack.
Exactly. And I think anyone who's dealt with a mask has felt that tension of wanting to just rip the mask off and throw it away and just be authentic and screw what the world thinks. And then retreating behind the mask again. And then pulling it down, going, no, I want to be authentic. And then putting the mask up again.
There are, 1 out of 5 of us, for God's sake. It's not like the rare, unicorn out there. That there are a lot of people walking around struggling. And
here's the scary thing that I think of when I hear that number 1 in 5. If you think about how heavily stigmatized mental health or mental illness really is, that's 1 in 5 people reporting.
yes.
1 in 5 reported or diagnosed by professional. So what does that say for the people who don't report? What about the people who mask it or don't recognize or just try and grind through, not understanding what they're facing? And then you think about that 1 in 5 number and it drops to probably 1 in 4, I would say, maybe even 1 in 3.
And then when you hear that it's 10 years, it's a decade between you were longer, I was longer, between, when the first symptoms show and when someone actually, puts up the white flag and goes in and says to a professional, hey, something's wrong here. That's a lot of people for a lot of years walking around hurting.
And that is, again, part of the reason why I decided to do this.
It's very healing as somebody else who lives with this black dog to hear it stated so well and to just be able to feel understood. I keep saying, when you go to a doctor and you say, oh, right here, when it hurts and it's a little bit like, and you're trying to explain it and they say, oh, needles and pins. Yeah, needles and pins. So when you say that what you say in your blogs, I read it and just go, yeah, like that.
That's exactly why I do it. Part of it is therapeutic for me when I can finally give shape and give words to these thoughts that bounce around between my ears. That, writing helps me. Mm-hmm. Realizing everyone else, or a lot of other people struggle with it. If I put that out there mm-hmm. and one post changes one person's life and that's all my blog ever does,
yeah,
fantastic. I hate thinking that somebody else would feel as alone and low as I did, with nobody to connect to and nobody to reach out with. Even if I can't make the connection, somebody else will read something and go, holy crap, somebody else out there gets it. Mm-hmm. And gives them a bit of courage to reach out.
Because you could have done this as a journal. You could have just written it for yourself and gotten the benefits of getting it out of your head and onto paper. So I'm extremely grateful that you chose to do it as a blog and not a journal so that I could find it and call you. Anyway, is there any parting words or anything when you were thinking of talking that you thought, I really want to communicate this?
There's something about giving these shapeless thoughts in your head a physical form, whether you write a song or you sculpt something or you paint something, or for me, it's crafting words into something that makes sense. Whatever it is, to me, that has been worth it. So I would encourage your audience, even if it doesn't make sense to you, grab a pen, grab a notebook, grab your laptop, whatever. Find a way to give shape or form to the thoughts and the voices in your head, and I guarantee you it'll be helpful.
So, Terry, what I really, really appreciate is Andrew's ability to put into words so clearly.
Yes.
Expressing this experience of both the pros and the cons of the mask. Because, mm-hmm. I think back to mm-hmm. when we were doing our episode on the spoon theory.
Yes.
And, it does save time and energy to say, I'm fine when somebody asks how you are, mm-hmm. On a day when you don't have many spoons. But I so agree with him that by not letting people in and not letting them know what is really going on with you, I think people from the outside looking in get confused. You're saying I'm fine, but they're probably picking up on everything from your nonverbal behavior to your inability to follow through on commitments and,
mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of things. It's like, You're saying you're fine. Something's not right. And so, the mask is going to slip. It's going to eventually fall, and it's not worth it eventually. So I really love that, yes, there's advantages to it. There's also these disadvantages, and,
It's that balance between we want to live authentic lives and to be able to be our true selves in front of people. And also, like, there's a trust factor involved. If we do say it, we don't want to be told, what do you have to be sad about, or any of that kind of stuff. We don't want to be told we should. But also, if we don't tell people, we can't be saying, as so many people do, like, no one understands, because this is an opportunity to have them understand.
Right.
And I'm going to read another one of his quotes because, as you said, he's profound with words. He said, I'm not going to fake it. I'm going to look what I'm struggling with in the eyes as often and as long and as much as possible, because I don't want it to run my life, but I don't want to run from it either.
Again, I just think solutions are not the all or nothing, the black or white alternatives. So, it's not I have to mask or not. It's sometimes I can, sometimes I won't. With some people, I will.
Yes. It has to be safe to let that mask down.
Yes, and with others, I won't. And kind of, that's what I always encourage people to do, who are saying, I can't do this anymore. It's sort of like, okay, but not as an all or nothing thing. Who's somebody who feels safe? Let's start with that person. Maybe your workspace is not a safe place.
Right.
So, okay, but you've got your people that you can check in with and be real and authentic with. And that's, again, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing, but we've got to find ways that you don't have to keep that on 24/7, 365. That's what's not sustainable.
Agreed.
And that's what's really isolating.
Yeah.
You can't live an authentic life behind a mask. It's just that will alienate you from yourself as well as from other people. We truly hope that our podcast brings a little more understanding, helps you better articulate and reflect on your own experience with depression, or better understand how to support someone else who is struggling.
If this episode has been of comfort or value to you, know that there are hundreds of others like it in our archive, which you can easily find at our website, givingvoicetodepression.com. And remember, if you're struggling, speak up, even if it's hard. If someone else is struggling, take the time to listen.